Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Panelists on the stage and the inspirational women sitting off the stage. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, as I'm standing here, I would just like to extend my gratitude and thanks to GIO for organizing such an event and also considering me worthy enough to be able to speak among you. So, and before I start what I'm going to say here, I would just like to give a disclaimer that I'm not going to give any fiery speech here, as I am not a very fine orator just like our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And I'm here just to make you aware of the reality which is being shared by me, with this being shared by me with my fellow minorities of the country, including Muslims, Dalits, and other minorities, and to make you aware of the stories that I do on a daily basis. Today, I'll talk about the stories I do. And by stories, I do not mean subjects. By stories, I do not only mean stories, but by stories, I mean the shared reality of Indian Muslims, minorities, marginalized, who are living their lives on the verge of extermination. And we are very fastly moving toward a genocide. I'm not here to scare you all, as we are the cultivators of hope, and we are the cultivators of humanity, and we are born to save and preserve the humanity. People in India accuse me and journalists like me and organizations like Maktoob media of doing stories that are stressful, of doing stories that trigger them. And the privileged selves of the country says that they are triggered by the stories that are covered by Maktoob media or the organizations like Maktoob media. But this is the reality, that our lives, the lives of the minorities, the lives of the Indian Muslims have been reduced to trigger warnings. Have been reduced to trigger warnings, numbers and facts upon which the mainstream media is running their propaganda. And liberal media is just building their media houses and businesses, as they know that these stories has a market right now. They do not look at us as oppressed class or the marginalized people. The liberal media and the marginalized and the mainstream media look at us only as subjects, only as a source of stories which can further build their businesses, which they call journalism, which is actually not. And ever since I started doing journalism, I don't remember a day when I have not reported on an issue of marginalization, on an issue of oppression, on an issue where a Muslim was lynched, where a minority was killed, when a Dalit was killed, a student was assaulted on the campus, students like Rohit Vamila was killed on the campuses, Najib Ahmed went missing, disappeared, and issues like that. And for those who thinks that all this has started only after Modi government came into existence, you all and we all are mistaken. We're sheerly mistaken. Because whenever I come across any of these incidents, whenever I report or write about any of these incidents, it takes me back to the stories which our grandmothers and mothers used to tell us. The stories of partition, the stories of Shaheed Babri Masjid. And I remember telling those stories by our grandmothers and mothers. And when I was a kid, when I was a child, I used to wonder that what was the situation at that time was. How people of the India survived, how Muslims survived, and how minorities survived at that time. And now, I can not only report, I can not only see, but I can also feel. I can also observe and experience that reality, how it feels to be pushed towards being a second-class citizens, and how it looks and how it feels being othered. At the time of partition, the people who choose to migrate to the other side of the country, for them, the partition might have ended at that time. I don't know if it had ended for them or not. But for the people who chose to stay at this side of the country, at that time, they didn't realize that that was not an end of the partition. That was actually a beginning of another genocide. And they didn't realize that at that very moment, they are going into another trial from where they'll have to prove every day of their lives that they are good Muslims, that they are good Indians. And ever since, the Indian Muslims, the minorities of the country, lived their life being apologetic. Sometimes at the cost of their identity, sometimes at the cost of their faith, and most times at the cost of their religion. Since then, they have been busy proving that they are good Muslims, and they have been apologetic for being what they are, which is Muslims and minorities. We are living in a times where the Hindu fascist regime and majority who follow them blindly and follow their idea of Hindu Rashtra doesn't need a reason to kill, to demonize and dehumanize Muslims and minorities of the country. I don't know, I'm not talking about what has been unfolding in India since last few years. I would just quote a few incidents about which I think fellow speakers also spoke. And I don't know which incident should I quote to substantiate what I'm saying. Whether I should tell you about the Jaipur-Mumbai train incident where an RPF officer killed 3 Muslim men and an Adivasi on a train with full impunity. And after that, he told that they should vote for Modi and Yogi. And in his recently given statement, he has said that he has no regrets of doing what he did. And he would have killed 10 other Muslims if the train had not stopped there. Because he knows that he can get away with it, and he has absolute impunity for doing what he had done. Or I should quote the incident of New Haryana or Gurugram, where the right-wing terror outfit, we call them right-wing organization. I don't think so that we should be calling them organizations, because organizations organize, they don't kill. These are merely terror outfits, and we should call them that only. These terror organizations, VHP and Bajrang Dal, have killed Muslims, set their homes, their houses, their businesses, their shops on fire with impunity and in police presence. I'm saying this with full responsibility. And at that time, when they announced that there will be rallies in entire Delhi, and as we know that how their rallies are violent and provocative, and usually calling for the genocide of Muslims, Deputy Editor of Maktoob, Shaheen, filed an urgent petition in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court didn't react on it and said that states can take cognizance of the law and order in the state. The concerned states needs to take the law and order situation in their hands, and just to maintain that. But we all know that what states are doing and what the state administrations are doing. All that happened in the police presence. And police in Nuh and Haryana, in the name of doing investigation, are again bulldozing houses of people. after 11 days, yesterday Supreme Court reacted, and even when it was reacting to what was happening, what was unfolding in Haryana and Nu, the Supreme Court asked that whether they are moving towards ethnic cleansing. Do they not know that what is happening there? At the very first place, Supreme Court should have taken the suo motu cognizance of the incidents. And that same model, and this is not happening for the first time. The same model was adopted in Madhya Pradesh, the same model was adopted in Uttar Pradesh, and then in Rajasthan, and then in Delhi's Jahangirpuri. And all this, and somebody, I don't know, I was told that somebody was asking that why all this is being done to only Muslims and minorities of the country. I believe that all this is being strategically, in a very structured, sponsored manner to make Muslims economically weak when they bulldoze their houses, so that they do not question you, so they do not question your discriminatory policies. Monu Mane sir, I would just like to mention this here, because a lot of people don't know that. Monu Mane sir and Bittu Bajrangi, these are the two people associated with these terror organizations, VHP and Bajrang Dal, in Nu, Haryana. And these two people are the prime accused of killing two Muslim men, Nasir and Junaid, and not only of killing them, but also burning their dead bodies. And these two men and their gangs are roaming freely in the states, releasing video statements on their social media handles, calling for genocides of Muslims and all that. But police has not taken any cognizance of that. Police is incompetent in arresting them, or I must say they are complicit in the crimes that they do every day. And this incident, the resident Junaid and Nasir are the residents of Rajasthan state. And for those who say that Congress is a substitute, is an option when we don't want BJP to be ruling, I must tell you that Rajasthan is ruled by Congress only, which claims to open Mohabbat ki Dukaan. And where is their Mohabbat ki Dukaan now when Manipur is completely cut off from the mainland India, where women were paraded naked? This is the lawlessness of the country. This is the situation of the country right now. And Monu Mane sir and Bittu Bajrangi's terror gang not only hijacked the national highway, but they did the provocative rallies there, which again called for genocide of Muslims, and that happened again in the police presence. And people like Sharjeel Imam are landing in jail. We must not forget our leaders, our heroes. They are landing in jail just because fighting for our rights. He is in jail since I lost the count of the years now, for fighting against the unconstitutional, unjust and discriminatory law that is CAA and NRC. And here I'm not only talking about incompetency and impunity that is being given by police to these terror outfits and these terrorists, I must say, but judiciary and every other institutional body, including the parliament, is complicit in furthering the idea of the Hindu Rashtra and supporting the genocides of Muslims and minorities in India. Parliamentarians, specifically women parliamentarians, are seen silent on crime against women, which is even worse than justifying rapes. Today, just like Arundhati Roy said a couple of days ago in Kerala, that we are in a position where women are justifying rapes. Women are not only justifying rapes, but rooting to rape another woman. Just mostly, in most cases, just because of their religion. And I would like to just mention this one story that I did a couple of days ago, which can substantiate the thing which Arundhati Roy said, and I am also reiterating. And this incident happened in the Madhya Pradesh Ujjain district. A Muslim woman, a medical practitioner, was assaulted, thrashed, stripped of her clothes and dignity, and she was this close of being raped in public, and nobody batted an eye. And I should mention this, that another woman who was there only bought a sword and gave it to her assaulters and said that kill her. And I spoke with that woman on phone, the woman who was assaulted, and her ordeal was terrifying. The things she told me were like, she even pleaded before the woman to spare her, but she didn't. She even asked her that if I was your daughter, would you do the same thing with me? And she said, you are not my daughter, and asked the assaulter to kill her. This is the state of our country for women, for minorities, for Muslims. And our Union Minister Smriti Irani needs a special mention here, because these days she's getting offended by an alleged flying kiss by a fellow parliamentarian. And she's often seen silent when it comes to minorities and Muslim population of the country. And today, I do not think so that we need to go to executive or judiciary or police or any other institutional body to seek justice. The parliament today itself has become a source of motivational speeches and the laughing stock, I must say. And this is not only RSS-backed BJP ruling regime, but also the allied opposition INDIA, and it has reduced to laughing stock only. And I would just like to add a few more things before I finish what I was saying. I believe that people who have got power, the ruling people, they have got power, but I believe that they are the most coward people not only in the country but in the world, because they are scared of people like me, people like you, and people like Afreen Fatima, who is just in her 20s and who holds the courage to speak truth at the face of the oppressor. And I would like to mention one more incident. Yesterday there was a students' union election at TISS Mumbai, and a candidate named Shireen Arakal lost the elections because she campaigned on the principles of social justice, respect, and dignity. And her defeat was very, very obvious, because this country doesn't uphold principles like social justice, equality anymore. And this is the state of educational institution in India. These women, Afreen Fatima, Shireen Arakal, Bilkis Bano, Radhika Vemila, mother of Rohit Vemila, Fatima Nafis, mother of Najib Ahmed, Sharjeel Imam, who is landing in jail because he was fighting for the rights of people, journalist Siddiq Kapan, who spent more than 2 years in jail for merely wanting to cover a story that could have revealed the anti-Dalit sentiment of the ruling regime. These people are obviously the victims of systematic oppression we are facing, but these people should be our main source of strength and inspiration. And at last, I just want to remind you all, which I also keep reminding myself too, that we have been sent on earth in the world to fulfill a reason, to fulfill a purpose. And we all, because we don't have any resort to escape from what we are facing, the oppression, the marginalization. But yes, we can do something on our own. So we need to keep reminding ourselves that we have been sent on earth to fulfill a purpose, and we need to identify that purpose. We need to identify that purpose and assign ourselves a role, because we are in the middle of moral crisis. We are at the very fast pace moving towards a genocide which is only and only targeted towards Muslims and minorities of the India. And this also reminds me of the poem, I don't remember the name of the author right now, and that poem describes the stages of hell, Jahannam. And the last part of in that poem, he has described that the core of the hell will be assigned to the people who chose to remain silent and remain spectators at the time of moral crisis. So we should be acting, not because we are scared of hell, but because we are sent to save the humanity. So I request all of you to not be a spectator and act in whatever capacity you can. And if you cannot act, just amplify the things people are doing. Just support the organizations like Maktoob, because sometimes our stories don't reach to the larger audience. The least that we can do is to support and amplify the work that other people are doing. That's all what I have to say. Inqilab Zindabad. Assalamu alaikum.